This will be the people, part 2. Okay? Again, I'm not attorneys. I'm not going to give legal advice. I'm going to give my opinion only. Learning video. Alright? No more, no less. Okay? I'm just a man. Standing outside, arm length, watching this video as well as you are. Okay? Never look straight forward. Always look around me to be able to protect myself by any means necessary and find out what the situation is against the people that they call subjects.
Hi, slave. Oh, you silly slave. We're not going to answer that silly slave question verbally. See, there's a maxim of law, and that maxim states that actions speak louder than words. See, we're not going to sit here and say you're a slave. We're just going to show you that you are a slave. Here comes 2 more officers. That makes 3. It was already being manhandled by 1. Yep, correct. Here comes 2 more. That makes 5. She wouldn't answer if he's a slave or not. But that was the answer. Was arresting him. And it took 5 officers, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5. I'm sure that he wasn't fighting with anybody. He was a very peaceful man. But I'm sure that he didn't go into cuffs willingly. I'm sure he didn't say, oh, yeah, go ahead, arrest, yeah, sure. Lawful non-compliance.
Lawful non-compliance, and that's correct. But we also going to go with not assisting in his kidnapping. All right? He's not resisting, but he's not assisting them, y'all. Big difference. Big difference.
And how lawless we are is that for someone to exercise lawful non-compliance, it takes 5 officers to force them into compliance, and the judicial officer who's supposed to know law runs and hides because a man wishes to exercise his right to lawful, peaceful non-compliance, who's already said multiple times, if you just swear under oath or affirmation that the order is true, lawful, and correct, I'll carry it out. Let's see what happens.
We can do the one of 2 ways. I can remove you from court, I can make all the findings in your absence if you are not going to be compliant with directions. We are also going to accommodate the heavy stuff and re-acclimate the cuffs so that they are not causing discomfort. So So I will give you that choice. Well, because you're not compliant.
Now, remember, y'all, and if you ever watch Judge Judy and this, that, here and there, and, you know, people do stand up and they talk about their little problems of their issues, right? But they're standing. Why could he not stand? I mean, it's not like it's unheard of in court to stand. It's the simple fact that the judge demands, as the king of its court, for its subject to be seated. There was no reason why that man, he was in that room, he was standing behind that desk, or standing or sitting behind that desk. There was no reason to be forced into the chair because he could still hear everything she said. It was just a simple fact that another man or woman has to have dominion over you. That was all it is. It's not a respectful thing at all. It's a demand thing. You're beneath me. You're going to sit because you are my subject.
With the court's directive. The record is clear, the court has.
Let me tell you something. When someone else has power over you to tell you when to sit, when to stand, forcefully move your body into position, and the only way that they're really willing to accommodate you is by making you a more comfortable slave, because they're not going to allow you to exercise freedom or law. Yeah, when that happens, you're a slave. Now, here's what we have. We have the state's answer, part of it, to, because he obviously appealed the arrest. He was saying, whoa, this is way outside the bounds of law. Honestly, shouldn't even have to argue this one. I should just be able to send the record to the appellate court. They should be able to figure it out on their own. They are all judges that went to law school. Point 13. Defendant's brief is also devoid of legal argument. Indeed, referring to the trial court as Amy. The trial court is a figment of the imagination. Amy is real. Amy's the one who ordered the arrest. Amy's the one who broke the law. It's Amy. It's not the trial court. The trial court couldn't break the law.
Sorry about that, y'all. It's TV. Just that certain sound.
Bad slave for not cooperating or complying with their master. Yeah, that's what I just saw. What did you just see? Yeah, I pretty much agree with all of that. Now, keep in mind that the Attorney General's office of the state is saying this is no legal argument at all. That this is a bogus argument that the court shouldn't even contemplate or fathom considering. Defendant then blames the court for his contemptuous behavior, explaining that I stated twice that if Amy swore upon the record under oath or affirmation that she had true and lawful order, I would cooperate.
Now, we're going to pause there a second. And again, this video is going to last too long, but I'm sorry for that. However, I want to nitpick, right? Now, the judge didn't answer his question, which means she stayed in silence, acquiescence, and agreed that he is a slave. Right? That's not him saying it. That's her of her silence, acquiescence, and tacit agreed to his terms with his question. Just saying. So, in fact, she agreed that he's a slave. Y'all, think about that.
Man, this guy just sounds like a terrorist. You mean I just wish for the orders to be verified because I don't wish to be like Angela Freiner and Delilah, where you're trying to rip a child out of a house for over half an hour before your superiors get back to you and tell you that the paperwork is not verified? Because I don't wish for that to happen. And you're telling me that you know so much more about law than I do. If I'm missing something about this order being fraudulent and void on its face, because a void order is not voidable, it's simply void. The only problem is the executive branch officers don't understand what that means. Anyways, you heard him in the audio. He said if you swear that the order is true and lawful, he carried it out. Let me ask.
Now, remember this, y'all, as well. When you guys call it represent yourselves in court, you did not sign a contract to be under the agreements of civil procedures. All right, that's bar members. They signed a contract to do the civil procedures. All right. How does that contract attend to I when I go in there and take care of this matter on my own? How does that contract apply to I? Because I have a right as a man to use the court to get remedy. I'm not a person to go in there as for a privilege. All right, there is two different distinctions, right? One's common law, one's legalese. Persons is privilege, and you must comply to all these things. Men and women have rights. Okay? That's the reason why they created persons, to get rid of men and women, because they know they do not have power over men and women. Back in the slavery day, that's the reason why they called certain ethnics of 1/5 man, because they could not have a full man, because they would not have power over that man, right? By the way, that was actually due to evolution, that some of y'all believe in. Evolution is actually the one that created that 1/5 man. All right, I'll get off that.
All this. Why do you think they haven't just done that? Hey, I'll do it. I'll do everything you ask me. I will be the slave you are asking me to be if you just swear under oath or affirmation and the penalty of perjury that those orders are true, lawful, and correct. That's all you gotta do. What's so hard? Why do you think they haven't done it? Like, if they have these orders and they're legitimate and they're lawful, I'm not even going to argue whether they're legal, because just the fact that they exist on paper means that it's legal. Defendant submits, I contend I have no duty to comply with orders and directions that go against my very conscience granted to me by God. Yeah, unless there's a true and lawful order. Yes, I have the right, the God-given right, not to be somebody's slave. Ultimately, defendant argues this appeal is incredibly simple. It explains that we either have rights or we do not. I am either a slave or I am free. This is not an argument, and it does not warrant this court's time or consideration. So let me explain this to you, boys and girls. The judiciary that believes they don't have any duty or obligation to explain to you that you are in fact a slave, and they will just show you through their actions, believes that slavery is not a legally relevant question in the nature of a courtroom. And the Attorney General's office seems to agree with them, stating that you asking we either have rights or we do not, I am either a slave or I am free, does not warrant the court's time. Those questions are so silly, they don't warrant the court's time. And this is why you should be incredibly, incredibly scared. It goes on to say that Supreme Court, whatever rule, requires a short conclusion stating the precise relief sought. Defendant's brief does not include a relief request for. Rather, he asks this court to answer these questions for our society, in effect, whether he is a slave or he has rights. And really, it's about answering this question for all of us. Are we a slave or do we have rights? And then he continues to ask for the court's opinion. And you want to know why? Because he's not a judicial officer. He didn't go to law school. All he knows is right and wrong like a simple man. He knows that this is wrong. He's articulating it to the best of his ability. I just caught the fact that that paperwork was never stamped in. They would never move on it. They would never rule on it. To the best of my knowledge, he hasn't gone back to court since they issued a warrant for him not showing up and appearing. And so he did a writ of restore freedom to the Supreme Court of that state. And I guess at that point they were like, okay, well, quit violating the law against them. You know, we're not going to actually uphold the law, but maybe at this point, maybe someone should considering not breaking the law anymore. And this is the problem. This is why we have to have as many people as we can have watching the courthouse on Monday, November 15th. Is because you just saw what the state thinks about your right to know if you're a slave or not. We had 13 people there that day. She still did it. She still didn't hesitate. Making a clear example for all the other slaves. You better not think you're free. Anyways, this is why we gotta get into courts. This is why we have to have our rights upheld in courts. This is why we have to watch over the courts. Because what they are doing is absolutely appalling, and I just don't even know how to describe it. And that was pre-COVID. Okay? That's how bad the courts were almost 2 years ago. They're not getting any better. You want to know why they're not getting any better? Nobody's fixing them. I have a whole video about why the legal society is not going to fix it. Anyways, we are Just Conspiracy, and we just wish to conspire with other good people those plans to leave a better world for future generations than the world we all grew up in. And if you think that what happened in that video is perfectly fine and okay with you, be my guest. voluntary servitude, voluntary slavery is absolutely legal and lawful. Go volunteer. One world, love and peace. See, I think that is just awesome. I think it's awesome because, you get to hear the daughter interact with Kyle. Yeah, you can have. I just want to know which one it is. Make sure I'm not looking for it in my closet. And her and her mom. Her mom asks for Kyle to get the dog. Kyle goes and gets the dog. Her and her mom talk about boys, cute boys, healthy relationship. In a very stressful situation. All these people at your door, all up in your business in the middle of the night, and you're still just chilling, being peaceful, not doing anything, and carrying on the best you can. That's awesome. That's awesome to me. Now, let's see what happens when the officer comes back.
Okay. Okay. I don't know why they did that to you. This good boy. This is how happy he is.
On callbacks to get anybody we can to verify that this is in effect, okay? Once we're able to verify that, it's still going to be a standing issue, or a court-ordered issue, so we have to abide.
Did you just hear him? He just said, we haven't gotten this verified yet. This hasn't been verified, certified, and authenticated. So we just heard from our people that we can't put on the black gloves and rip her out. But as soon as we can get this verified, certified, authenticated, we're going to be back. But let me just ask you again, what were they doing out there with an unverified, uncertified, unauthentic order to take a girl from her mom? Why did that happen in the first place? At all. Period.
Alrighty. This is We the People News. Bye, y'all.